Good morning, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Thank you for joining me. God bless each and every one of you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this Wednesday morning. And some great news coming from the streaming arena of our internet places. DeSantis seem to have broken Disney and other streaming services because they are now refusing to run Democrat ads on their platform. Democrats are absolutely insanely mad because of this. They can't run their abortion ads and they can't run their anti-gun ads on this platform. And they're mad. They're mad. It's funny because Democrats controlled the majority of multimedia productions, right? All of the media for that, all of Hollywood for the most part, and all of these institutions. So when they can't have one little streaming service as Hulu, they are freaking out. And it's amazing. I love the freakout. I love what's currently happening right now because Disney owned too, and they understand what they've done. They understood that they decided to insert themselves into the political arena and they're losing money because of it, lots and lots of money. We've done many videos on here about the Disney stock loss in the billions of dollars that they're losing, and of course other Disney-owned properties losing money as well. And here's one example of maybe them learning their lesson a little bit by refusing to air to Democrat ads. So let's take a look what we have here coming to us from the Washington Post of all places. So Bronwyn, there we go. Democrats fume as Disney's Hulu for blocking ads on abortion and guns. I love it. Love the headline. And I absolutely love it's happening over on the Washington Post. I'm sure they have some coping and cry closets ready for them. Just the back streaming service. Hulu is refusing to run political ads on central themes of the Democratic midterm campaigns, including abortion and guns, properly. Fury from the party candidates and leaders. The streaming service, popular with among young viewers, which has a policy against running content deemed controversial, is like other digital providers as not being bound by the Communications Act of 1934. A law that requires broadcast television networks to provide politicians equal access to the airwaves. The Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and Democratic Governors Association tried to purchase joint ads on abortion and guns with Hulu on July 15, along with identical placements on Disney's to affiliate ABC affiliate in Philadelphia, and the company's cable sports channel, ESPN. The Hulu ads never ran while others did. Hulu's censorship of the truth is outrageous, offensive, and another step down a dangerous path for our country. The executive directors at the three committees, Christine Roberts, Tim Pascoe, and Noah Lee, said in the statement provided the Washington Post, "Voters have the right to know the facts about MAGA Republicans' agenda on issues like abortion, and Hulu's doing a huge disservice to the American people by blocking voters from learning the truth about the GOP record and denying these issues from even being discussed." It's quite telling that Democrats believe that they're only entitled to the truth, that their vision for the country is the only correct vision of the country. If you're a Republican, then you are a danger to democracy according to them. And they will do everything in order to try to put you in a gulag. That is their platform, essentially. They don't want the stand. They want to have it ran like Ukraine, where you can lock up all of your political opponents, your political parties that oppose you, political or media that is the theory to you, lock them up. Lock them up. That's what they do in Ukraine. That's what they want to do here. So it's quite telling that Democrats are now fuming because one little streaming service has decided not to run their propaganda on their own site. And I talked about this story coming out of Connecticut. This is so funny how wokeism is dangerous. And you'll see what I mean here. So literally one day after the Connecticut promoted the passage of their Connecticut Clean Air Act, the day after a bus in Connecticut, an electric bus, caught fire. It was sudden, immediate, unplanned combustion. This bus just went up in flames, because we know that lithium-ion batteries and other batteries do not like extreme heats. And also battery fires are very dangerous because they reignite because of the chemical reactions. Well, you know that this current regime of the former vice president has been pushing for all electric. Well, all electric is dangerous, as we can see here. This fire went out of control. It took a while. The electric fires took a while to extinguish. They had several fire crews out there. And this is what happened. Due to the fire, the entire electric bus fleet will be pulled from service as a precaution. This is what is being said. The importance of rider safety is demonstrated by taking these buses out of service and ensuring a thorough investigation is completed prior to any redeployment of the fleet. We have deployed diesel buses to make sure people can get to where they need to be. Another loss. Another example of the failures of the Great Reset, the Green New Deal, etc. Electric transportation is not ready for prime time. Okay, folks, this story is a precursor to what they're really trying to do. I can't go into details, obviously here, but you'll be able to read between the lines. Here is Newsmax: Biden administration seeking ID cards for illegal immigrants. Now you realize that if illegal immigrants, which are now being called, we just call them illegal aliens, then illegal immigrants, then undocumented aliens, then undocumented immigrants, or something like that, there's some kind of wackiness going on here. But you realize if they give them IDs, they will no longer be undocumented. And it's amazing some of the things that they'll be able to do with those IDs, because now they'll be documented. You know where I'm going with this, folks. The Biden administration wants to provide temporary identification cards to illegal immigrants who are awaiting final decisions on their cases. This is coming out of Axios. Officials are considering a pilot program that would help immigrants access housing, healthcare, Wait a minute, I thought these are illegal immigrants. How are they getting identification to access housing, healthcare, transportation, and other benefits? I thought the Democrats always say illegal immigrants don't get benefits, and that when we conservatives, Republicans, and libertarians are saying, wait a minute, we're being overtaxed if we're able to provide tax-paid, payer-funded services for non-taxpayers, we're told that that's a lie. Oh, it's a lie. Of course, it's not a lie. Then you have blue states like California that will not make these 10. They will forever recognize the SOAP poses temporary IDs once they come on the line. And then, of course, that can be parlayed into other permanent identifications to do things that generally undocumented folks aren't able to do. You know what I'm talking about. So we've got millions of illegals who have invaded the US invasion, meaning that they've crossed the border illegally into another country, most of them being, interestingly enough, military-age men, most of them, or many of them when I see the videos, without accompanying families. There's nothing to see here, folks. Unless, of course, this is all as I've been saying for a long, long time. By design. Okay, so what am I asking? Is it possible? Is it just possible that the person behind the leaking of the early draft, Samuel Alito, early draft of Roe vs. Wade, could have been John Roberts himself? Well, here we have this. Here is a truth from Steve Bannon on Truth Social. And it is in reference to a CNN report. Let me read you first the CNN report headline: The Inside Story of How John Roberts Failed to Save Pregnancy Termination Rights. Okay, so what CNN has published is a story that details how Chief Justice John Roberts was working down to the bitter end to reverse the Roe v. Wade overturned decision by going after and trying to flip Brett Kavanaugh. Now here is the observation by Steve Bannon. He tweeted, or truth out, impossible this CNN story pulled together without Roberts' assistance. So what we're learning from CNN in their in-depth reporting is we know that the Supreme Court sided with the state of Mississippi in overturning Roe vs. Wade in June last month. We know that Justice Alito asserted in there that the original decision was egregiously wrong and on a collision course with the Constitution from the day it was decided. Now I know the left likes to misconstrue things. But what the overturning of Roe says is, this is not a decision to be made by the Supreme Court. This is a state's decision. And this needs to be decided state by state. So pregnancy termination wasn't outlawed nationwide. It went back to the states. They went back to Mississippi and the other 50 states, half of which are happy to continue business as usual when it comes to elective termination of pregnancy. And that is why Alito said it's time to heat the Constitution and return the issue to the people's elected representatives. Now, of course, many states' representatives put in trigger laws and sugar bans, meaning that once Roe v. Wade was overturned at the Supreme Court, that their new laws would be triggered. And we have about, let's just say, about half the states that have harder laws, or more, I'm gonna say harsher laws. They have more strict laws regarding the elective termination of pregnancy as a form of birth control for otherwise. So today, CNN reported that Chief Justice Roberts was chum B&O, as my Mexican family says, working hard until the last minute to flip Kavanaugh. It's interesting that it was Kavanaugh. Let's go to CNN. Chief Justice Roberts privately lobbied fellow conservatives to save the constitutional right down to the bitter end. But May's unprecedented leak of draft opinion reversing Roe made the effort all but impossible. Multiple sources familiar with the negotiations told CNN that's a spin. Is it possible that Roberts put it out there before the overturning, or one of his people in the deep state did it, or he left the CIA, turned over to the CIA did it to put pressure on Kavanaugh on others? Maybe there was in a struggle, according to CNN, that he was trying to privately lobby and flip fellow conservatives. And maybe he got to a point where he's like, I need to, on behalf of the deep state and the agenda of the Marxists, the depopulation folks, the bloodthirsty folks, I need to perhaps have this leaked to put pressure on Kavanaugh. Maybe you've got Kavanaugh or break, because look how much pressure he got originally, with the whole hearing, that he had to even become a Supreme Court justice. Very interesting. But here we go, folks. The Roberts was working all of the conservative justices. And the closest, according to CNN, was Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Once again, maybe Brett Kavanaugh I thought would break because he went through such a sideshow with Dr. Ford, Chevy Chrysler Fiat during the sham hearing for his confirmation. It appears unlikely, CNN says though, that Justice Brett Kavanaugh was ever close to switching his earlier vote, despite Roberts' attempts that continued through the final weeks of the session. Perhaps that's why they could have been Roberts that leaked it. He wasn't able to get Roberts Gorsuch and Coney Barrett. He knew Alito wasn't going to go because Alito was authoring it. And he knows that my man, the original black conservative patriot, Clarence Thomas, wasn't going to budge. So could he have leaked it? I continue. New details obtained by CNN, and I'm reading this is from CNN, provide insight into the high-stakes internal drama that intensified in late April when justices first learned that the draft opinion would soon be published. Serious conflicts over the fate of the 1973 ruling were accompanied by tensions over an investigation to the source of the leak that included obtaining cell phone data from law clerks and some permanent court employees. In the past, Robert himself has switched his vote or persuade others to do so towards middle ground institutionalist outcomes, such as ACA. Of course, he went out with this weird thing going, yeah, Obamacare. That's just a tax. It's a pattern that has generated suspicion among some right-wing justices and conservatives outside the court. So CNN outlines why we don't trust Justice Roberts, and then they say it's a pattern that has generated suspicion among right-wingers, like me, like you, and like other people with their thinking caps on. Multiple sources told CNN that Roberts' overtures this spring, particularly to Kavanaugh, raise fears among conservatives and hopes among liberals that the chief could change the outcome in the most closely watched case in decades. Once the draft was published, by political conservatives press their colleagues to try to hasten release of the final decision unless anything suddenly threatened their majority. Very interesting. Once again, it wasn't done with the help of Roberts, it was Clarence, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and any Coney Barrett over the two. Then so we got the 5, the 4, the 3 supposedly, and they are liberal progressive judges, and the Roberts, who they still want to call conservative. Okay. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell, so you don't miss a thing. Thank you for watching the video.